Commander Vex'thara couldn't believe what she was witnessing through the viewport of her battle cruiser. A single human, standing barely 2 meters tall, had just requested an audience with the Galactic War Council. Not for surrender. Not for negotiation. For combat. Are you absolutely certain this translation is correct? Vex'thara's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession, a clear sign of her mounting confusion. Her communications officer, a seasoned Gorath'un veteran named Zulik, checked his instruments for the 3rd time. Yes, Commander. The human specifically requested single combat with our strongest warrior. The audacity is unprecedented. Oh, the audacity indeed. Here stood a species that had only achieved faster-than-light travel 3 months ago, challenging the dominion that had ruled 12 galaxies for over 10,000 years. The sheer absurdity would have been amusing if it weren't so insulting. The human in question went by the name Marcus Kane. Nothing fancy. Nothing intimidating. Just Marcus Kane, as if he were ordering coffee at some backwater space station cantina. He wore standard-issue combat gear, carried what appeared to be primitive kinetic weapons, and had the casual demeanor of someone who had accidentally wandered into the wrong neighborhood. Vex'thara's mandibles clicked with dark amusement. Very well. Summon Gorath'un. Let's show this Deathworlder what happens when children play with adults. Gorath'un the Bone Crusher arrived within minutes. Standing 4 meters tall, weighing nearly half a ton, and sporting natural armor plating that could deflect plasma cannon blasts, he represented the absolute pinnacle of Dominion military evolution. His species, the Vorthak, had conquered 17 star systems through sheer physical dominance alone. His personal combat record included over 300 victories against various species champions. 0 defeats. The arena deck cleared as both warriors took their positions. The Galactic War Council members gathered around the observation platforms, their excitement palpable. This would be over in seconds. Perhaps they could study the humans' remains afterward, figure out what biological quirks allowed these Deathworlders to survive on Terra. Human, Gorath'un's voice rumbled like an avalanche, his translator struggling to convey the menacing undertones. I will make your death swift. Your species shows courage, if not wisdom. Marcus Kane stretched his neck, producing small popping sounds that made several aliens recoil in disgust. Thanks, big guy. Really appreciate the consideration. He paused, examining his fingernails with apparent boredom. Quick question though. When you say swift, are we talking seconds? Minutes? Because I've got dinner plans later. The assembled aliens exchanged bewildered glances. Was this human experiencing some form of pre-combat psychosis? Perhaps the stress had triggered a mental breakdown. Gorath'un's 4 arms flexed, each one capable of crushing steel. Begin. What happened next would be discussed in military academies across the galaxy for generations. Gorath'un charged forward with devastating speed, his massive frame moving like a freight train. Any rational opponent would have attempted to dodge, to use superior mobility against overwhelming strength. Basic combat theory. Marcus Kane did something completely different. He ran straight at Gorath'un. Is he malfunctioning? Whispered Admiral Tyk from the observation deck. Humans can't possibly be that stupid. Oh, but they could be that brilliant. At the last possible moment, just as Gorath'un's crushing blow descended, Marcus dropped into a slide. Not just any slide, but a perfectly calculated maneuver that sent him gliding between the alien warrior's legs while simultaneously drawing both his sidearms. 2 precise shots rang out. Gorath'un froze mid-stride, his expression shifting from bloodthirsty confidence to complete bewilderment. He looked down at his legs, where Marcus had targeted the small gaps in his natural armor plating. The shots hadn't penetrated deep enough to cause serious damage, but they had struck nerve clusters that no galactic database had properly mapped. How did you? Gorath'un began, then stumbled as his legs suddenly refused to obey him properly. Marcus rolled to his feet behind the massive alien, already moving for his next attack. Funny thing about armor, he said conversationally, as if discussing the weather. Everyone assumes bigger means better. But bigger also means more joints. More joints mean more weak spots. He fired 2 more precise shots. More weak spots mean more opportunities. Gorath'un spun around, swinging his massive arms in wide arcs, but his movements were becoming increasingly unsteady. The human had done something impossible, turned the alien's greatest strengths into liabilities. Impossible. Commander Vex'thara's voice cracked across the arena speakers. No species has ever mapped Vorthack physiology to such precision. Marcus ducked under another wild swing, his movements fluid and economical. Well, that's the thing about humans, he said, firing another carefully aimed shot that found its mark in Gorath'un's shoulder joint. We're really good at figuring things out. Especially when our lives depend on it. The truth was far more terrifying than any alien could have imagined. Humans didn't just fight. They adapted. They analyzed. They turned every disadvantage into an advantage through sheer bloody-minded creativity. While Gorath'un had been posturing and flexing, Marcus had been studying. Every movement, every stance, every telltale sign of muscle tension. In those few minutes before combat began, he had essentially reverse-engineered an entirely alien physiology, and now he was systematically dismantling the galaxy's most feared warrior with nothing but kinetic projectiles and tactical brilliance. Gorath'un attempted one final, desperate charge, roaring his fury across the arena. Marcus sidestepped at the last moment, allowing the massive alien's momentum to carry him past. As Gorath'un struggled to stop his forward motion, Marcus delivered a precise strike to the back of the alien's knee joint. The Bone Crusher, undefeated champion of the Dominion, crashed to the arena floor like a toppled monument. The silence that followed was deafening. Marcus Kane stood over his fallen opponent, checking his chronometer with casual indifference. "Well, that was fun," he announced to the stunned audience. "Anyone else, or can I get going? I really do have dinner reservations." Commander Vex'thara stared at the scene below, her 4 eyes wide with a mixture of horror and dawning realization. This wasn't just combat. This was a demonstration. A message delivered with surgical precision and devastating clarity. Humanity hadn't come to surrender, they had come to serve notice. The medical bay aboard the Dominion flagship buzzed with frantic activity. Gorath'un lay on the treatment table, conscious but utterly humiliated. His wounds were superficial, but his pride? That would take considerably longer to heal. "Explain to me," Commander Vex'thara said, her voice dripping with barely controlled fury, "how our greatest warrior was defeated by what amounts to a primitive projectile weapon and basic anatomy lessons." Dr. Galactic, the ship's chief medical officer, reviewed his scans with growing bewilderment. The human targeted nerve clusters that we didn't even know existed. Our own medical databases have gaps in our understanding of Vorthack physiology that this Marcus Kane somehow identified in minutes. The absurdity of it all was staggering. The Dominion possessed medical technology that could regrow limbs, cure genetic diseases, and extend lifespans by centuries. Yet a human with nothing but sharp eyes and a willingness to learn had outperformed their most advanced diagnostic equipment. "Commander," Communications Officer Zulik interrupted nervously, "the human is requesting permission to address the War Council directly." Vex'thara's mandibles clicked in irritation. "Absolutely not. We don't negotiate with species that resort to cheap tricks and, with respect, Commander," Admiral Tykeval's voice carried across the comm system, "I believe we should hear what he has to say. This Marcus Kane has just demonstrated capabilities that our intelligence networks completely failed to detect." And there it was. The elephant in the room, so to speak. If humans could surprise them this thoroughly in single combat, what other unpleasant surprises might be waiting in the shadows? 20 minutes later, the War Council convened in the main conference chamber. Representatives from 12 different species sat around the massive holographic table, their expressions ranging from curiosity to outright hostility. Marcus Kane entered the chamber like he owned the place. No ceremonial robes. No intimidating entourage. Just a human in slightly rumpled combat gear, carrying himself with the relaxed confidence of someone who had just proven a very important point. "Ladies, gentlemen, and various non-binary entities, Marcus began, his tone conversational. I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me. I know you're all very busy conquering galaxies and whatnot. Several council members bristled at the casual disrespect. Supreme Chancellor Kethrim of the Draknari hegemony leaned forward menacingly. Human, you have committed an act of aggression against the Dominion. Your species will face consequences for this insult. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Insult? I thought this was a demonstration. You know, show and tell. Though I suppose from your perspective, it might feel a bit insulting to watch your undefeated champion get schooled by someone who learned his anatomy from a 10-minute observation period. The chamber erupted in angry chittering, growling, and various other sounds of alien outrage. Marcus waited patiently for the noise to die down, occasionally checking his chronometer with theatrical boredom. Here's the thing, he continued once relative quiet returned, you've all been operating under a fundamental misunderstanding about my species. You see us as primitive, weak, technologically inferior. He shrugged. And you're absolutely right. This unexpected admission caught everyone off guard. Vex'thara's eyes narrowed suspiciously. Then what exactly are you attempting to accomplish here? Marcus smiled, and something about that expression made several council members shift uncomfortably in their seats. I'm here to explain why being primitive, weak, and technologically inferior might not be the disadvantage you think it is. He activated a small holographic projector, displaying a three-dimensional map of known space. You've conquered 12 galaxies through superior technology and overwhelming force. Very impressive. Very efficient. The display zoomed in on Terra's location. But you've never encountered a species that evolved on what you so charmingly call a Deathworld. The hologram shifted, showing Terra's surface conditions. Violent weather patterns, seismic activity, predatory wildlife, and atmospheric compositions that would be lethal to most galactic species. Everything on our planet is trying to kill us, Marcus explained cheerfully. The weather, the animals, the plants, the geology, even the microscopic organisms. We've spent our entire evolutionary history fighting for survival against impossible odds. Admiral Tyk interrupted. Many species have faced hostile environments during their development. Sure, Marcus agreed. But here's where it gets interesting. Most species, when they develop technology, use it to create safe, comfortable environments. They build cities with perfect climate control, eliminate dangerous wildlife, and generally make life easier for themselves. His smile widened. Humans do that too. But we also do something else. The hologram displayed images of human recreational activities. Mountain climbing, deep-sea diving, extreme sports, martial arts competitions. We actively seek out danger for fun, Marcus announced. We invented activities specifically designed to put us in mortal peril for no other reason than the thrill of survival. We call it recreation. The silence in the chamber was deafening. Several council members were staring at the images with expressions of pure horror. You're insane, whispered Dr. Galactic. Probably, Marcus agreed cheerfully. But that's exactly my point. You've spent millennia developing technology to make your lives safer and more comfortable. We've spent millennia developing ourselves to be more dangerous and unpredictable. He gestured toward the medical bay. Gorath'un lost because he fought like a civilized being. I fought like a human. Supreme Chancellor Kethrim's voice was barely controlled rage. Are you threatening the Dominion? Marcus looked genuinely surprised. Threatening? Oh, no. I'm offering you a deal. He deactivated the hologram and leaned back in his chair. Humanity wants to join the galactic community. We're willing to share our technologies, our knowledge, our unique perspectives on problem solving. In exchange for what? Vex'thara demanded. Equal representation in galactic governance. Fair trade agreements. And most importantly, Marcus's expression grew serious for the first time, recognition that Earth remains under human sovereignty. Admiral Tyk scoffed. You're hardly in a position to make demands. Marcus stood up slowly, his casual demeanor replaced by something far more dangerous. Admiral, let me tell you a little story about human military philosophy. When we encounter a superior force, we don't surrender. We don't retreat. We adapt, improvise, and overcome. He paused. Your champion learned that lesson the hard way. The implications hung heavy in the air. If one human could defeat the Dominion's greatest warrior through sheer adaptability and tactical thinking, what could an entire species of humans accomplish when properly motivated? Consider this, Marcus continued, you can either have humanity as allies, bringing our unique problem-solving abilities to benefit the entire galaxy, or you can have us as enemies, wondering every day what new impossible tactic will develop to even the odds. He headed toward the exit, then paused at the doorway. Oh, and just so we're clear. That demonstration with Gorath'un? That wasn't me showing off. That was me holding back. His smile returned, cold and calculating. You really don't want to see what humans are capable of when we stop playing nice. As the chamber doors closed behind him, the War Council sat in stunned silence. They had expected to intimidate a primitive species into submission. Instead, they had just received the most politely delivered ultimatum in galactic history. Commander Vex'thara stared at the closed doors, finally understanding the true horror of the situation. Humanity hadn't come to surrender or negotiate from weakness, they had come to collect on a debt the galaxy didn't even know it owed.